Hey, I'm Sam. This happened when I was about 16, but it still sends chills down my spine whenever I think about it. My grandparents owned a small farm in rural Nebraska, and I used to spend part of my summer there helping out and getting away from city life. The farm was surrounded by endless fields and thick woods. It was peaceful, but at night, let's just say it could get unsettling. One particular night made me never want to go back alone again. It was a warm summer night, and I decided to take a walk around the farm before heading to bed. I grabbed a flashlight and started down the path that led to the woods. As I walked, I heard rustling in the leaves and saw shadows moving in the woods. My heart started to race, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Suddenly, I saw a dark figure in the distance. I froze, unable to move. Panic set in, and I turned and ran back to the farmhouse as fast as I could. I burst through the door, panting and terrified. My grandparents looked at me concerned. I tried to explain what I saw, but they just told me it was probably my imagination. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I hid under the covers, but I could still see the dark figure moving outside my window. I quickly closed the curtains and tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. But deep down, I knew that night would haunt me forever. It started like any other evening. Dinner with my grandparents, stories by the fireplace, and then heading to bed in the room upstairs. My window faced the cornfields, and even with the curtains drawn, I could hear the wind rustling through the stalks. That night, though, the wind was dead still. No crickets, no owls, just eerie silence. I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I heard it. A faint rustling sound, like something moving through the corn. I figured it was just a coyote or maybe a deer, but then it got louder and closer. I crept over to the window and peeked through the curtain. At first, I didn't see anything, just rows of corn swaying gently even though there was no wind. But then I saw it. Something was moving through the rows, a dark shape weaving in and out of the stalks. It wasn't an animal. It was too tall. And it wasn't walking normally, more like gliding or swaying side to side. My heart started racing. I closed the curtain and tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. Maybe shadows playing tricks on me. I climbed back into bed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there. About 10 minutes later, I heard footsteps on the gravel driveway outside. Slow, deliberate steps. My grandparents lived way off the main road, and no one ever just dropped by unannounced. I grabbed my phone and tiptoed to the window again. There, standing at the edge of the driveway near the barn, was a man. Or at least I think it was a man. He was dressed in dark clothes, his face obscured by shadows. He wasn't moving, just standing there, staring directly at the house. I whispered to myself, "What the hell? I was frozen, unsure of what to do. Call the police, wake up my grandparents?" Before I could decide, he moved, slowly walking toward the house. Panic set in, and I sprinted down the hall to my grandparents' room. I shook my grandpa awake, whispering frantically that someone was outside. He's a tough old guy, and without asking questions, he grabbed his shotgun from under the bed and headed downstairs. I followed him, heart pounding in my chest. Grandpa flicked on the porch light and threw open the door. Nothing. The driveway was empty, and the cornfields were still. No sign of anyone. "You sure you saw someone?" Grandpa asked, his voice calm but serious. "I swear he was right there," I said, pointing toward the barn. Grandpa nodded, then walked out onto the porch, scanning the property with his flashlight. After a few tense minutes, he came back inside. "Probably just some drifter passing through. Lock the doors, we'll keep watch." I barely slept that night, jumping at every creak and shadow. But the man never came back. The next morning, we found footprints in the gravel leading from the cornfield to the driveway, and then back into the corn. They were large, barefoot and deep, like whoever it was had been standing there for a long time. Grandpa never said much about it after that, just told me to always trust my instincts. To this day, I have no idea who or what that figure was, but every time I hear the wind rustling through the corn, I can't help but feel like someone, or something, might still be out there watching.